Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm so delighted to see all of you. Maybe I'll stand here. I'm Rachel Galvin. I'm Associate Professor of English and Comparative Literature and a Director of Translation Studies, and the very fortunate co-instructor with Allison James of our class, Literary Games, Ulipo and onwards. So thank you to all the students who are here as well. And welcome to Latinx Poetry Now. Our three distinguished guests today are three of my very favorite poets writing today, and so I'm thrilled that they have so graciously agreed to share their time and energy and art with us. And Oliver couldn't be here in person and is beaming in from abroad, so we're going to make this work one way or another so that he can be in the room with us. And I want to express gratitude to everyone who helped coordinate this event today and make it possible, including my extraordinary student, Gabriela Lomba Guzman, and Gabby Choi and Nama Rokum in Comparative Literature, and everyone at CSRPC and CSGS who are so kindly hosting us today. This symposium is funded by the Franke Institute for the Humanities with a generous faculty grant for La Poesía Latina project, which I've been conducting for the past year as part of my current research project. So I'm interviewing Latinx poets, translators, and editors, and holding performances and conversations like this one today. All of which is being recorded and will later be available on a website as a teaching and research resource. So my sincere thanks to the Franke Institute, to Bonnie, Mike Kevich, Richard Neer, and Marco Browning for supporting and believing in this project. So we have the extraordinary good fortune today to share this space with three truly incredible standout poets, all of whom are pushing the boundaries of poetry and poetics and making a sui generis art, and they're each very different from the other, that moves us and powerfully challenges us as readers and as audience members. All three are quite different poets, as you'll shortly see, and all are taking up questions around art making, poetics, politics, translation, Latinidad, queerness, diaspora, and trans experience from different angles. So what we're going to do right now is begin with a poetry reading. We're going to turn it over to Oliver, and I will introduce him, and then Legna and then Ura will read, and then afterwards we'll have a little bit of time for questions. And I just want to remind you, please do stay around, mingle, talk to the poets, ask more questions, and eat lots of tacos at around 12:30. And then at 2 o'clock we'll reconvene with a round table with the three poets as well. So to introduce Oliver Baez Bendorf is a poet whose work explores interconnectedness, transformation, and queer liberation across natural and human realms. He's the author of 3 collections of poetry, including Consider the Rooster, which came out last year and was a finalist for the National Book Critics Circle Award. Amazing. His poems have appeared in The Nation, American Poetry Review, and Yale Review, as well as anthologies like Latino Poetry and Troubling the Line, Trans and Genderqueer Poetry and Poetics. He's the recipient of fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts, long may it survive, Canto Mundo, Lambda Literary, and the Wisconsin Institute for Creative Writing. Oliver's work has also earned him an award from the Publishing Triangle. Born and raised in Iowa, he holds an MFA in Poetry and an MA in Library and Information Studies from the University of Wisconsin at Madison. So Midwestern poet all the way. Oliver, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to now hold the phone up to the mic, and the mic up to the mic, and see how this works, so that you can. You want to try saying something again?
Buenas, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yay!
Thank you so much. My name is Oliver, and I'm beaming into you today via the magic of the internet, the phone, and so many people, and the generosity of Dr. Rachel Galvin, and it's really meaningful to me to be here. The poems that I will read today come from my latest collection, Consider the Rooster, which explores queer and trans becoming and our ecological entanglements and resistance and joy. And the rooster, Walter Mercado, at the center of the book, was a real rooster. And so were all of the forces that he stirred up from which these poems emerged. So thank you so much for being here and for this invitation to be in conversation across distance, but together. Colony collapse. begins without shelter in a storm. What I have to do next. I sleep best at anyone else's house. I like the ones that bees like. I think madness is colonization. I know grace is how I'm still alive. Shock of blue jay on an oxidized fence. I try to make a religious exception. Don't die of perfectionism. Heave along the goldenrod. Begin to live more together. I try to unravel Spanish ways of knowing, for example, crown on my head in an empty field. We plant lavender and let it grow bushy for the bees. Sexy how they feed on blooms. Pleasure, time, money, faith, yoga, evil, each one multiplies. We never eat alone. Come over, I will be a confidential lover to each one of you. Private things, private thoughts. We bake breadcrumbs into royal jelly. I love with every hand, horse, water, wind. If you wonder where to rear the young, if you too fall feverish after that communal feeling, swear to God when I'm dead I'll spend years waiting for the living to call, offer wine and dance. I need everyone I love. I'm too tired. Time to feed our missing before they come gone. Third eye is a glory hole. Doors open, tubes on. Gracias. I just chose my place and let the circle form around me. Behold, the Lord, a neutron star, had been missing for 32 years. Visible light faded. Then astrophysicists announced they had seen a hot, bright blob in the core of supernova 1987A. Wouldn't it feel pleasant to be more and more together, like a neutron star, since we're clearly a brotherhood, since we're all exploded anyway? Might as well hedge that spinning ring. It was an agent of change. I stood there squinting into the heavens, thinking if star can also be dust cloud or nebula or black hole, then surely gender is far stranger than we've imagined and much more beautiful, unfurling over decades, a phenomenon. Exploded from a cornfield, that's me. Will you join this velvet burst? Even the Lord wants it. His will was written down for everyone to read, and he left something for everyone. The intention of the cedar wood and hyssop branch and scarlet yarn is to let it be known that it feels good to dwell in unity and pleasure. If I'm someday judged on group projects alone, pray for me, may I pray for you. But I wonder, will wealth be measured by what I gave away? I am interested in the gods, their names, powers, and most of all, what they gave up for power. Holy lightning bolts will not come from my hand, but I too am unfolding, changing. An old Amana book I read, that one with the cloth orange cover, says, before there was anything else, the communal kitchens along the river valley, the calico, the salsify, before any barn or house was built, before the mill fire, before everything that had to do with industry, there was the community of true inspiration, the church, the faith, the religion, most of all. The year I was born, a supernova exploded in our skies. I was 32 when dust settled to finally reveal its thick, luminescent core. I didn't even know. I should keep the faith. So I'm here. Be a cloud with me. Remember the believers by how they plant their dead in the ground. Absolute order of expiry, identical stone monuments bearing names and years, measuring lifespan by number of orbits taken around an already dying star. I'm coming back to me now, yet I remain in common. Come get your eggs, laid from the elements of dead stars. This next one begins with an epigraph from Sylvia Rivera's speech at the 1973 Christopher Street Liberation Day rally in New York. And the poem's called Michigan. You all tell me, go and hide my tail between my legs. I will no longer put up with this shit. I have been beaten. I have had my nose broken. I have been thrown in jail. I have lost my job. I have lost my apartment for gay liberation. And you all treat me this way? What the fuck's wrong with you all? Think about that. Sylvia Rivera. Daisy Fleabane arrives early after winter onslaught of lake effect. Snow melt becomes water that feeds wildflowers from the underside, becomes flood, comes family, a cellular structure for secrets. The year is 2020. Everyone is sick and healing. Not everyone. Everyone is sick or healing. Lives are precious or expendable. Expelled, expressed, released, sighed, sloughed off to replicate in someone else's precious or expendable lungs. Germination, occupation, months between vagus nerve and a memory of sociality. You might as well be in Michigan. I rolled into a pleasant peninsula seeking safe haven. And yes, sometimes an invisible cloak fits over my house. Capes children walk by carrying plastic pumpkins. I pushed grass ordinance to edges, a local construction of crime. Legal height lowered, braced for tensions with neighbors. I mow a tiny strip around the meadow. The pollinator garden tickles the curb with liberated wildflowers. Fleabane daisies, such a startling puff of yellow. Pink clover right over and dock. Dead limbs rotting, but controlled into compost. We will grow things here. We are in this together. I'll post a sign explaining and pray no one calls on the rooster who rushes to elevation to greet the day or warn of it. All day the same bugle, meaning something only in his kingdom, which I happen to live in. I surround myself in brown. Deck stains and elk and moose of the Michigan flag. State whistle, toad song. Don't you know, sun cooks the shame away. Who else needs to survive? I am trying to answer one question. I measure miles from the arbitrary border. Drive through pharma for extra vials of testosterone. Controlled substance. RX sees the criminal queer. Scrutinizes ID, then dispenses a paper bag, folded, closed, and stapled, which I toss. Empty passenger seat. Keep driving. Sanitize my hands. Keep driving. Fueled by fossils. North in Michigan. What is a mortgage? Is it a house of cards? A debt meant never to be repaid? Token of achievement and settlement shadow? Am I the last loser in Michigan still banking on silence and pleasantries to protect me? Strangers, neighbors power walk past my ragged lawn. Their yards are dull and starve hummingbirds, monarchs, cardinals, and bees. How is that more beautiful? If I stay in line, if I keep my head down, if I work harder, etc. I have held my tail between my legs and sang grateful. I have been spit on for whose hand I held, harassed for the pants I wore, catcalled for existing. I have been slandered by the God Hates Fags family. I studied their church compound on Google Street View and saw the Pride Center painted in rainbow across the street. I can no longer be placated by the colorful advancement of rights. Depressed, to push or pull down. No wonder. An old ordinance still on the books bans fortune telling, another way I am a criminal here. Between that and the forbidden meadow and some other elements and the privileges I am often permitted, I forgot to assemble. Paid on time every month. Did homophobia's work by playing Smear the Queer. Sylvia didn't die for me to hide my tail between my legs. So I untether from my respectable nest. holding the X in my hand like a rosary and like a brick. I'm done being good. Gracias, thank you. Consider the rooster. And this one, baby chicks are, baby chickens are notoriously hard to sex. What does that even mean, right? What does that even mean? So these pandemic chickens that I brought home when I was living in Michigan, they came with a kind of fine print from Tractor Supply that was like, we're pretty sure these are all hens, but we're pretty sure. And Walter was not. Consider the rooster, who did not ask to join this world any more than I did, who scans for trouble as he pecks the ground, who announces when a hawk lands in the naked maple above, who emits a low trill to warn the flock, who does this on instinct to protect potential offspring, who rarely takes a treat when offered scrap or seed, who instead yips to gather the hens around it, who sometimes does this regarding some shiny piece of trash, whose waddle catches light the way red lipstick does, who slept between breasts as a day-old cockerel, whose first attempt to crow sounded like a flopping sock, who directs with one stiff wing, who we thought would be a hen, who reminds all in earshot that, like it or not, another day is come and gone, who disturbs the interior idle of a neighbor writing lectures on environmental philosophy, who keeps the hens alive to lay another day, who would risk his life to protect, who cockfighters gas up on steroids and provoke to battle, who they then point to as an example of how violence is natural among men, whose crow can scare away the devil and rouse the dead back to life, who will provoke a strong response of either humiliation or joy. God, I won't be your sacred chicken if it means I have to fight, but I will fight. I already scanned the perimeter. Testosterone, yes, I take it, which is not the same as fighting. The shape you see has nothing to do with me or the rooster, who sleeps in a cardboard box in the garage because the philosopher called the police, then asked for eggs. Do you hear that crow that sounds almost like a recording of a crow? That's daybreak. It is regular like daybreak or twilight. It rattles a certain window that matches its vibrational frequency, because the glass, under all that strain of air molecules around it, finally decides to change. Just have two more short forms. Spell for burned books. Juniper branches burned become calcium. Herb burns into relief. It destroys nothing. Nazi book burns began with third gender history plundered. 20,000 books torched in Opernplatz. Paper into ash, smoke, water vapor. Take your eternal flames of damnation back. We've become, as we always have, another form entirely. So this is the last poem I'll read, and thank you again. Honored to read also with my co-symposiaists today. This one begins with an epigraph from Reina Royo, and it's the dead tell the living to live. What the dead can do. The dead can fly right up to my window. The dead can be bright red. The dead can make pictures come down from the walls, and they can make it so the backyard smells just like a Christmas tree. The dead can make a bird land wherever they want. They can be bright red if they want. They can make luck happen, but they can also make it not. They can curse your house. They can make a head of lettuce go bad. They can wander the streets at night while I sleep, transmogrify their tracks sunk in the snow into those of another mammal. They can make any song come on the radio. They can keep you safe on the road in a whiteout storm, but they can also not do that. They can't initiate a rainbow, but if one already comes on the sky, they can add one more. They hope someone makes love the way they loved to. They like visitors at their bones. Some of them, I'm sure, are waiting for their ashes to be eaten by the young. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Oliver, for that extraordinary reading and for making it work over the tech that we have. I'm going to see. It is my great pleasure to introduce Legna Rodríguez Iglesias.
Legna is a Cuban writer known for her innovative style and her focus on themes of memory and female experience. Her prizes include the Cuban Prize called el Premio Iberoamericano de Cuentos Julio Cortázar, el Premio Casa de las Américas for her first play in 2016, which was the first time the prize was awarded to a Cuban exile. She also won the Baez Prize for Poetry given by the National Poetry Series. I should have started by saying she writes across genres. She's a multi-genre writer. And that prize was for Miami Century Fox, which some of you have read some sonnets from for today. She's also won the Franz Kafka Prize for Essay just last year in 2024, and is the author of many novels, including Mayonesa Bien Brillante, Las Analfabetas. Her short story collections include Ne me quitte pas, ¿Qué te sucede, belleza? No sabe, no contesta. Mi novia preferida fue un bulldog francés, also known in English translation by the wonderful Megan McDowell. My favorite girlfriend was a French bulldog. Her poetry collections include Hilo Masilo, Chicle, Ahora es cuando, Transtusé, Título, Mi pareja calva y yo vamos a tener un hijo. My bald partner and I are going to have a child, which was awarded el Premio Centrifugados de Poesía Joven, also Ilusiones de Botánica y Dame Spray. She's published 2 collections of essays and crónicas, one very recently called Crítica Madre, and, that was 2023, and then very recently in 2024, Princesa Miami, which was awarded the Franz Kafka Prize last year for essay. Her poetry, her work has been translated into English, German, Italian, and Portuguese. I've lost count. I think she's published at least 20 books, maybe libros, puede ser por ahí, I don't know, sí. And she lives in Miami. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros, Legna. Bienvenida.
Bueno, muchas gracias a ti, Rachel, en primer lugar, y gracias a todos ustedes. No estoy nerviosa porque me doy cuenta que algunos no me van a entender. Pero eso sí me preocupa. Me preocupa que algunos no van a poder entender y yo solamente hablo español, no hablo el idioma oficial.
So she's very happy to be here, and she's a little nervous, but not too nervous because she knows many of you cannot understand her since she doesn't speak the official language of this country.
Pero hay algunos poemas que voy a leer que sí están traducidos al inglés y tú misma, Rachel, puedes leerlos porque veo a Miami Century Fox. ¿No? Yo había, para mí tengo que decirlo que es una alegría muy grande estar leyendo con Urayoán, después de que lo conozco hace tantos años, y que presentamos juntos uno de mis libros, pero por Zoom en la pandemia. Entonces ahora es como vamos a hacerlo real. Estábamos con Daniel, con Rachel, con Urayoán, pero a través de pantallas, y ahora se hace real.
Legna is very happy to be here today and to be with Urayoán. In real life, they had met only once on the presentation of the translation of her book Título for the book launch. You guys know each other for long. I'm like saying this, and I know that's not correct. The last time we saw each other was on Zoom. Sorry, they've known each other for years. And also with the great poet and translator Daniel Borzinski, who's here today, and who she had seen only through the screen.
Bueno, y nada, yo voy a leer, tengo esta antología, entonces pensé que sería, ¿quiénes entienden español para saber? y mirarlo cuando lea. Ah, bueno, aunque sea días. Buenísimo, me encanta. Yo había pensado, porque tengo más o menos 15, 20 minutos para leer, entonces había pensado leer un poema de cada libro y así ustedes tienen una idea de mi trabajo entero, ¿no? A partir del año 2008, que va a ser el primer libro del que leeré un poema de cada libro, ¿no? Entonces, voy a empezar leyendo de un libro, un poema de un libro que se llama Chicle, ahora y cuándo. Y ese libro lo escribí en Camagüey en el año 2008. Ahora que me lo dices, recuerdo que desde ayer estoy aquí sentada, en este taburete, con los 5 dedos izquierdos metidos dentro del short, acariciándome los cañones. Con los 5 dedos derechos apretando mi bolígrafo, lleno de tinta, mirando insistentemente la agenda, sobre el escritorio, sin escribir ni una sola palabra. 0 palabra, 0 pensamiento. Un escritor me dijo que mi poesía era una fórmula, algo parecido a 2 más 2 o a 3 más 3. Pero yo tengo la seguridad de que en todo caso es algo parecido a 113 menos 212 o a 212 menos 1984, que es un año muy famoso porque así se llama una novela que no he leído. Ahora que me lo dices, recuerdo que esa novela nunca la he leído. Después de ese libro, escribí otro libro que se llama Tregua Fecunda. Es un libro muy político que habla un poco de la decepción de los como grandes patriarcas cubanos, que ahí podrían estar metidos mi familia, mis abuelos, pero no voy a leer ningún poema de ese libro, oí. Entonces, luego vino un libro que se llama Hilo más Hilo, y ese sí está en inglés. Y voy a leer 2 poemas pequeñitos de Hilo más Hilo para que Rachel me ayude a traducir. Hilo más Hilo trata un poco de la naturaleza de la mujer. Para tener lo que me fue dado. Una mujer que llora es un hombre desnudo y feo. Una mujer que fuma es un niño caprichoso. Una mujer que mea es una mala estructura. Una mujer que muere es otra mujer. Una mujer de afuera puede bailar al ritmo de los blancos y los negros. De afuera significa extraña. De afuera quiere decir de un lugar extraño y dulce. Una mujer extraña es un hombre vestido y bello. Una mujer que piensa es una rana en el fango. Una mujer que singa piensa.
Yeah.
So Legna is giving us a tour of her poetic works and reading one poem from each collection, starting from 2008. And then this one was in qué año se publicó?
2015.
In 2015. The book is called Spinning. In order to have what was given to me, a crying woman is a naked and ugly man. A woman who smokes is a fanciful boy. A woman who pees is a poor structure. A woman who dies is another woman. A foreign woman can dance to the rhythm of the whites and the blacks. Foreign means strange.
Foreign means somewhere strange and sweet. A strange woman is a dressed and beautiful man. A woman who thinks is a frog in the mud. A woman who fucks thinks.
Otro de aquí, ¿sí? Bueno, otro poema de Hilo más Hilo que está traducido, muy breve. Yo te quería pedir ahora cuando lo leas el próximo poema, hacerte un video para tenerlo, para tenerlo en inglés, a ver cómo suena eso. Sí, lo voy a leer en español. Se llama El hilo y así empieza el libro. Yo jamás había visto un hilo en una vagina, colgando de la vagina como un moco de catarro, como un pañuelo de fiebre. Yo jamás había alado un hilo de una vagina. Se le iba a salir el alma, se le iba a ir con el hilo la memoria del horror. Yo lo alé aquella noche, lo alé con la boca, y fue la primera vez que me arrepentí de algo.
And now, strangely, she's going to video me reading her poem to you, which I've never read out loud before. The Thread. ¿Listo? I had never seen a thread on a vagina, hanging from the vagina like a cough booger, like a handkerchief. I had never pulled a thread from a vagina. Its soul was about to come out. It was about to lose with that thread the memory of the horror. I pulled it out that night. I pulled it out with my mouth. And that was the first time I regretted something.
Brava.
Suena bellísimo. Suena muy bien. Bueno, pues después de Hilo más Hilo viene un libro muy difícil, que es un libro que se llama Título, y fue el que presentamos juntos, aunque aquí en la antología está primero Dame Spray. Sí, Dame Spray lo escribí primero, pero bueno, vamos a saltarnos Dame Spray entonces. Y vamos a leer este poema de Título, que es un libro como difícil para mí porque los poemas tienen una respiración larga que no es mi inspiración. Yo prefiero los versos cortos, pero bueno, escribí este libro de versos largos. Y este poema tiene un número que se llama 33. Todos los poemas en el libro están numerados, ¿no? Con números que se repiten agotadoramente. 11, 22, 33, 44, todo el tiempo, ¿no? Como una letanía. También octubre es un mes cruel, un mes del que huiré toda mi vida. Tumbada en mi rincón, los árboles que brotan junto a mí me hablan, y mis hombros horribles en forma de círculos abultados empiezan a ponerse alérgicos. Esto quiere decir llenos de un prurito rojo que agrede incluso a la oscuridad. Para colmo, mi madre de sangre, que es además mi madre poética y mi madre en todos los sentidos posibles de lucubrar, cumple años este día como cada año y coincide en número con el día en que naciera un hombre llamado Ezra Pound. La llamo por teléfono para decírselo y antes de decírselo le digo: tengo hambre, mamá. Hambre de algo delicioso, no de este arroz blanco en chapapotes blancos sobre un plato blanco de la infancia de 1992. Tengo hambre, mamá. De un poema de Ezra Pound. Léeme el poema que tú quieras por teléfono. Hambre de un poema que diga cosas malas de ver y que los árboles tengan que ver. Hambre de un poema del que empiece a huir toda mi vida.
Estás bien con el micrófono, como dijiste ayer, ¿no?
Sí, con el micrófono es mejor.
October is a cruel month too, a month I'll run from my whole life, lying down here in my corner, the trees budding next to me speak, and my horrible shoulders in the shape of swollen circles start having an allergic reaction. This means full of an itchy rash, so itchy it even attacks the dark. And to top it all off, my blood mother, who's also my poetic mother, and my mother in all the possible ways you could imagine, has her birthday today, like every year. And it coincides in number with the day that a man called Ezra Pound was born. I call her on the phone to tell her, and before I do, I say, I'm hungry, Mom. Hungry for something good, not this white slop over white rice on a white plate from when I was a kid in 1992. I'm hungry, Mom, for a poem by Ezra Pound. Read me any poem you want on the phone. Hungry for a poem that says bad things to see. And where trees play a part, hungry for a poem I'll start to run from my whole life.
Buenísima.
Bueno, entonces vamos a leer un poema que pertenece a este libro, Miami Century Fox, y es un soneto, lo marqué en el otro libro, pero aquí no, pero ya lo encuentro. Basura blanca. Más extraña que bus en la avenida, voy a pie por la acera de Leyún, holgazana de todo y de ningún trabajo. Tengo libros y una herida. Más derecha que metro en la salida, serpenteo los autos como atún en profundos océanos. Algún hombre sucio saluda. Bienvenida. Más ardilla que tren en el andén, subo por escalera horizontal y me caigo de nalgas. Fuck you, tren. Romerillo podrido en lodazal, hormiguita dormida en su llantén, cualquier cosa me sirve y me da igual. Esos no los traducimos. Agilizar. Y termino leyendo un poema de un libro inédito.
Súper.
Sí, un librito inédito y además un poema que está en otro idioma, que no es español ni inglés.
Wow.
She's going to conclude by reading an unpublished poem that is neither in English nor Spanish.
Exacto, está escrito en el idioma del amor.
It's written in the language of love.
Y es un poema muy cursi, muy cursi, muy cursi.
It's a really vulgar poem.
Se llama Ya ta ama. Casara, casarma, cantara. Sancanada sapara. Parla tarda, parla nacha, parla madragada. Nangana ara, amparta tanta, cama, tamana farmanda la parrafada prata calar. Ya, nasasata sagar, la pratacala d'albasa, almas masama pa de la latra. Parca, la camasca sara. Además de darte abrazas, para baja, para raba, para dantra, sampra sarabarta landa. La zafasanta manta baba. A cantanta, cantanta camaga. Muchas gracias.
Just to make it clear, that was a univocalic poem in the letter A. So for those of you in the Ulipo class, thank you so much. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce the poet Urayoán Noel, poet, translator, performer from Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico. He is the author of 10 books in English and Spanish, including the critical study Invisible Movement, New Rican Poetry from the 60s to Slam, which was a winner of the LASA Latino Studies Book Award and should be mandatory reading. Buzzing Hemisphere, Rumor Hemisférico, and Transversal, named Book of the Year by the New York Public Library. Also should be mandatory reading, both of them. Two of my favorite books. Noel's translations include books by the Chilean poet Pablo de Roca, Winston Gonzalez, who's a Garifuna poet from Guatemala, and Nicole Cecilia Delgado from Puerto Rico. Noel has been a finalist for the National Translation Award, the Best Translated Book Award, the National Poetry Series Past Prize for Poetry, also the Pan American Literary Awards, and the Modern Language Association Book Prizes. He is a founding member of the Latinx Project at NYU and the editor-in-chief of its digital publications, Intervenciones. Noel currently serves as the Director of Graduate Studies for NYU's MFA in Creative Writing in Spanish. Urayoán is currently completing a book called Neural C, which some of you have read an excerpt from, which is a hybrid lipogrammatic work engaging in neurodivergence, disability, queerness, and displacement. And it is my deep, deep, deep pleasure to welcome you back to the University of Chicago. Okay.
Gracias, profesora Galvin. Gracias, Chicagolandia. Legna, Oliver, siempre es un honor. Hago un esfuerzo por no usar lo que no se puede usar.
He's speaking lipogrammatically.
Así que comienzo con un poema de Chicago, improvisado al caminar por las calles de Chicago. I'll begin by reading a Chicago poem, improvised, while walking around Chicago. Humboldteando, improvisación videovocal, improvisation, Humboldt Park, Chicago. In Humboldt Park, I'm humbled. I wander through the streets and want my handheld to communicate my hunger. En Humboldt Park, ombligo de mi parca voz, me vuelvo por las calles y quiero que mi inalámbrico comunique mi hambre. This city isn't hobbled, a hub of skin here, a smile, a scar inhabited. Esta ciudad no cojea, hay un núcleo de piel aquí, una sonrisa, una cicatriz habitada. Heaven is here, past Yauco food and liquors, past the flags and tags. El Edén está aquí, pasando Yauco foods and liquors, pasando las banderas y el graffiti. This time, I'm Albisu's visitor, making smokestack sounds in cities without soundtrack. Esta vez visito a Albizu, haciendo ruidos de chimenea de otrora en ciudades sin banda sonora. To be here is to amble, to mumble, fading sun, graying sky. Estar aquí es deambular, es farfullar el sol, desdibujándose el cielo gris. Rhymes, battle-scarred in Batelles, passing Jayuya Barber Shop and Adalberto's United Methodist Church and Cardenal's Driving School. Rimas, cicatrices de guerras en Batelles, pasando Jayuya Barber Shop y Adalberto's United Methodist Church y Cardenal Driving School. The only drive here is the urgency of history, not yet seeping through the noise of a late winter afternoon. Lo que me conduce aquí es la urgencia de la historia, que aún no se filtra ante el ruido de una tarde de fines de invierno. They say recidivism is a social responsibility. They say farmacia and café colado. They say oficina de equipo médico. But what are we equipped for, really? Dicen que la reincidencia es un deber social, dicen farmacia y café colado, dicen oficina de equipo médico, pero ¿para qué estamos equipados? ¿A qué equipo le vamos? ¿A qué equipo le vamos? Ya no equiparables a una isla, un archipiélago, una piel, un lago Michigan, entre ojo y ojo. What team do we root for? No longer comparable to an island, an archipelago, a skin, a Lake Michigan between the eyes. No parking, dicen en la ciudad vacía. Pues no estaciono. Dame mejor las estaciones múltiples del éxtasis. They say no parking in the empty city, so I don't park. Give me instead the many seasons of ecstasy. no pasan taxis. Más pasan mis rimas por los supermercados, las fruterías, el Luquillo Barber Shop, el Dios que hace delivery. Por calles como estas, calles que restan, pero que suman algo. No taxis going by. Only my rhymes along the supermarkets, the fruit stands, the Luquillo Barber Shop, the God that delivers down streets like these. Left over, but adding up to something. Y este caminar, ¿cómo contrarrestarlo? ¿Cómo contraponer el calor de una voz al frío maquinal? And this walking, how to counteract it, how to contrast the voice's warmth with the mechanical cold. Tengo moquillo, tengo ansia de botánica, tengo la gana anímica de andar, de parrandear por otras calles como estas. I have sniffles. I'm jonesing for some botanica herbs in my verbs, and I'd be up for ambling, for carousing through some other streets like these. No puede ser que Albizu y Muñoz Marín coexistan en estas calles juntos y encallados como las rimas de estos minutos callados pero hallados al lado de otro cuerpo como el de uno. No hay ninguno como el de uno. No hay ninguno. Calles ninguneadas. Lo son todos. Si bien no hay ningún hada. It can't be. Pedro Albizu Campos and Luis Muñoz Marín coexisting on these streets, run aground together like the rhymes that frame these quiet times when you walk in stride alongside another body like your own. There are none like your own. There is none. Scorned streets that sing are everything. No need for fairy tales. Olvidemos la nostalgia. Este Chicago no es el chic del long ago. La rememoria fácil me queda chiquita, pero me quedo aquí quieto, rimando en combustión espontánea de botánica ante tanta emergencia. Hay una efervescencia, esencia. Let's forget the nostalgia. This Chicago ain't the chic from long ago. The easy reminiscence doesn't fit me anymore. But I'm still here, chill, rhyming in spontaneous botanica combustion. And for all my convalescence, there's still an effervescence, an essence. No es ciencia esto, lo bien que coexistimos. Guerreros, tacos and pizza, al lado de Iglesia de Dios Peniel. Gracias, Pastora América Yolanda García. Gracias, Supermercado Municipal. Gracias, El Quijote Artesanía de Puerto Rico. Gracias, People's Choice Mortgage Corporation, por habitar estas calles, por evitar que yo calle. This ain't no science how well we coexist. Guerreros, tacos, and pizza next to Iglesia de Dios Peniel. Thank you, Pastora América Yolanda García. Thank you, Supermercado Municipal. Thank you, El Quijote Artesanía de Puerto Rico. Thank you, People's Choice Mortgage Corporation, for inhabiting these streets, for allowing me to speak. Esta calle se llama División. ¿Nombre irónico o protagónico? No llego a divisar. Me miran raro acá. Igual que en Río Piedra, igual que en el Bronx, igual que esta y otra calle sin reparo. Respiro, algaro, algarabía, algarabato, algazara, no hay solo de voz devoción en vez de división, divagación, cruzar de calles, solo cruzar. This street is called Division? Is that name ironic or omniscient? Something I can't envision? They look at me funny here, the same as in San Juan, the same as in the Bronx, the same as all the other streets without reprieve. I breathe without a clue, a hullabaloo of scribbles, the hubbub's all been dubbed devotion instead of division, digression, streets to be crossed. Just me crossing. Bueno, ahora voy a leer de Noel C. Hay un video, pero queremos a Oliver.
No.
Puedo comenzar. You were reading a book where I purposely avoid a specific glyph, a language mark, so all remaining glyphs may bloom. Avoiding such a common glyph is hard, as doing so can compromise a basic sense of place, meaning, reference, and more generally, how bodies and minds link. However, my idea involves precisely jumbling all such senses. You will soon know why. Reader, you hold in your hands the failed archive of my body-mind, my diaspora, my queerness, and especially my epilepsy, all of which means my words can only mean in unforeseen ways. I explore some borderlands of reading and neural sea, if I may. Why? Well, such is my experience of having a body and mind undermine me. And so I compose a book, a novel, a memoir, a lyric essay, a performance score, a long prose poem, where you may feel, as I do, enveloped in a dizzying vernacular of blurring and slurring. Be forewarned, I occasionally paraphrase from online sources, since mine is a web of bodies. And above all, I walk alone and accompanied across and along walkable and unwalkable landscapes. Why such an odd approach? Well, I could bluff some riff from philosophy, phenomenology, and Husserl on how signifiers unhook from our fallen world. Or I could riff on Georges Perec and how living in a jail of language is my only way of glimpsing a sovereign sense of being and becoming. More simply, I can hum my boundless song because I claim freedom in a language under duress, where we can parody repressions and coercions of all kind. My previous phrases make me remember Reverend Pedro, a Nuyorican bard long since passed away, who is somehow always here as a guide while pages and empires burn. During Nuyorican slam's heyday, in our millennium's dawn, Reverend Pedro gave me such enormous freedom. He said no one could or should impose expressive norms on me or any of us Boricuas, and in his punk wisdom, he made clear one idea over and over. Colonizers, including colonizers of form, should go kick rocks and fuck off. I believe Pedro was ordained as reverendo via mail order. Given his own church credo, El Irreverendo would be a more proper moniker. So inspired by Reverend Pedro, I say, fuck off if you came here for some liberal colonizer escapism. You can find a gazillion such books elsewhere. Similarly, miss me if you're looking for a book piously embodying liberal managerial ideas of difference for slice and dice audiences and made up publishing demographics. Be prepared. My words will be a garrulous flow emerging from a neural sea, and you may wade for pages and pages in search of solid ground. When some minimal organizing is needed, I use a fleuron as a way of breaking off specific pages and passages. Fleurons are old school design glyphs which survive in our cyber age as Unicode. Manichaean glyphs are derived from an abjad calligraphy where vowels are elided. As in Arabic, I pick an abjad-based Manichaean fleuron because Avicenna uses an abjad-based sequence in organizing his classic canon of medicine, where epilepsy was so vividly described so long ago beyond all medieval European discourses of epilepsy as demonic possession. I also liked how an abjad-inspired glyph echoes my own elision of a specific glyph, one very common in English, like in a Sufi poem, meaning here remains unsaid beyond languages given where you and I converge. Fleurons for our neurons, mine and everyone's. Maybe I failed, and my book is simply proudly unreadable, aping a modernism where failure is a given, like in William Carlos Williams' early novel where an old car goes nowhere, a book I half despise and half love, which is also how I feel regarding my own body and mind. Even half love is a miracle considering where I was way back when. Williams was a physician like Avicenna, and he was half Anglo dad, half Boricua mom like me. Living across languages is how I survive in a burning brain, and also, oh, rejoice, a given in a global world where we're always making memes for modernism's ruins. Some chunks of my book are in Spanish. Some were improvised on my phone, and some were found online. Many began while walking across home in diasporic geographies, which is one way I heal under duress. Freedom begins when I reclaim my body-mind like Zami did. And while I have some ruins from you, I'm from Rio Piedras, and maybe some porn, I can play daddy for 100 pages or so. Ruin porn is never on my menu, unless you mean all possible ruins of our language, in which case, ogle away. Bronx Reverie, an end of summer prologue. From my living room window, I observe an expansive Bronx sky, an orange and blue panorama broken up by an occasional pigeon or some subway cars rumbling over brick buildings, low-slung houses, boxy yards where a dog's lonely bark becomes a muezzin's call from some nearby mosque. As darkness descends, my sense of long summer day fades away while somehow glimmering in memory like an island people's language. Maybe some weekend I'll hear a danceable drum once again. For now, however, I have only my silence echoing inside me, and all is fine. I'm happy composing a parody of Madame Bovary on my phone as our world burns. Or indeed a lipogram, which my book is, like Perex, avoid, only eschewing, avoiding, a less common phonemic symbol. Do an online search for voiceless alveolar plosives. Remember, you need never call my words here a novel, an essay, a poem, a diary. Call my pages a performance, a song perhaps, one you can even sing if you glean a hindrance in my prose, a boundary. Only you can help me name myself beyond a glyph I will never use, because using said glyph would fossilize language as a normal mode of naming. Whereas I dream of claiming how my body and mind and yours link across our many worlds, and in a sense I'm focused less on new kinds of naming and more on knowing my body and mind in as much as failures of meaning, or allowing my scrambled brain all possible freedoms, including every chance for wandering. Freedom for me now means simply being alive in a gorgeously collapsing world, feeling air in my lungs for as long as I may endure under whichever ugly, necessary language can be cobbled from my pain, corny as my words may sound. In Parek's Avoid, as rendered in English by Adair, words like ocean and sea never appear for obvious reasons, given Parek's chosen lipogram. In his book, we are in a dry Morocco, or else walking along plush, lush grounds of purplish crimson, soon becoming brown under a sparkling bluish sky, across which would blow a bracing polar wind, God's own ceiling fan. Every day, I'm less brash and more like Monsieur Vowel, Parek's fearless hero who goes missing. Like Vowel, I'm incurably insomniac, someone who idly scans a paragraph on a cozy armchair, only I'm never puffing on a good Havana cigar. In my book, seas can save us, especially we who seize. Sea has seizures by a seizure. I would never presume, even ironically, a book like mine could offer a consoling word for anybody incurably sick. Like Perec, I'm proclaiming l'infraordinaire, all banal, obvious, common phenomena, whose luminousness lies in ordinariness. My prose may look like Oulipo, however, I'm really a hard Scrabble scribbler spraying my words on an old wall across nameless urban galaxies whose space is never really known, never really mappable. Reader, my book should invoke in you a sense of loss, a sense of how I'm improvising. I'm no longer reading. I'm making up my words as I go along. However, I aim for a sense of being linked, you and I, across forms. I was reading in my mind Aurora Levins Morales' book on epilepsy and divergence of all kinds called Kingdom, which changed my life over a dozen years ago. My mom's as well. My mom also has epilepsy, which I knew before she did. I saw her seize while sleeping. We swallow a same pill every day. Medical monopolies keep us alive. Difícil la cosa, ¿qué les puedo decir? Puedo quizás improvisar, puedo quizás hallar un espacio vocal, corpóreo, provisorio, donde algo sea posible, algo innombrable, salvo como fuego neural, mar donde me ahogo. Y Hyde Park, ¿qué es? No es Chicago, es algún lugar irreconocible, some unrecognizable place. Hyde Park, a park where we hide? Parking is hard. Hiding is much harder, no? Are we bored? Being in my head can be boring, my body mind. And somehow, you all paid for my body mind, my synapse spewing random violence, bliss amid violence, como sea posible. Digamos, un mar neural. ¿Cuál mar? Neural. ¿Cuál mar?
Neural.
¿Cómo es el mar?
Neural. Neural.
Ura. Ne. Ural. Confuso, ¿no? Me perdí. Pues finalizo con una ocarina. ¿Les parece? Olipó con ocarina. No funciona. ¿Qué pasa con mi iPhone? Ya vamos a comer comida mexicana. La posibilidad ahí. Gracias.